Hey everyone, as always, thanks for stopping by the channel. So today is going to be a special treat. We're talking about a flight with the Mavic 2 Pro and a quick flight setup with Lychee. So last week I was contacted by a potential new client and they're looking for some assistance on a construction site. Over the weekend, I decided to go out to that construction site, take a look around, and familiarize myself with the location. While I was there, I also got a little bit of flight in just to get a feel for the location and for what the customer might want to see in video coming out of the location. So we're going to cut over to a couple of clips. Pay particular attention to clip number 2 because clip number 2 is what we're going to be talking about with the Litchi app. All right, so I hope you had some fun with that video there and the flights through. Specifically for this video today, we're talking about clip number 2. As clip number 2, I utilized Lychee to actually mark out a path, and I actually flew through the construction location. So you get kind of an interesting pass-through of what's going on the ground, really up close and personal. Now, this isn't something that typical clients are looking for. I did this for myself to give myself some references when I came back from checking out the job site. So I have several ideas of pre-programmed flights for them already to show off the construction progression going on with their build site. This particular clip that we're going to be looking at from Lychee is probably something that they might not want to do, but maybe they will. And one of the big things when I'm doing these construction sites and progression sites is that we are paying attention to creating a flight path that can be reused over and over again. Because this particular client was suggesting that they would like a monthly flight for their location. So every month I would like to refly the same exact pattern that I flew on the previous month for collecting both video and still photography. That way we're giving them exact monthly replicas and we can see the changes in those still images and in the video over and over again from month to month to month, giving them a really good feel for how their progression has gone on. So while I was on the location, I took a walk through the location. I'm going to move over and look at the screen now. And what we're looking at is actually Lychee's Mission Hub. So if you're not familiar with Lychee, I do have several other videos on the channel here covering some flights with Lychee, but this particular one was me walking through the location. Now, as you can see here, we've got a flight path defined over on the right-hand side. We've got point number 1, and that was hovering at 20 feet. I actually walked the property and stayed close to the drone for marking each of these locations. Now, one of the really powerful features of Lychee is that you can create a waypoint mission and actually create it while flying the drone. So you get the drone exactly where you want it and you can drop a waypoint. So we have waypoint number 1 here, and then we can move on to the next ones. Now, I did this with my controller and my iPhone on the location, but returning to my office, I can actually tweak this as well. So if I wanted to move things around or change elevations, I absolutely can. So our waypoint number 1, I had at 20 feet above ground level. I set a cruising speed for this mission, and I kept it actually slow because I wanted to be able to really take my time going through the site. So we also have curve sizes. So if we want the drone to curve as it's making its flight, it will do that, and it'll do it in a seamless fashion. So as you can see, I can arrow through here on Lychee to look at each of my points. So if at some point along this flight path, maybe I wanted the drone to fly a little higher, I could change the altitude, and it will be a smooth transition from each waypoint to the next, which is a lot of fun actually. So while I was on the location, I decided to have a little fun with it and give myself some interesting reference points, and you get to see those in the clips back at the beginning. So we're moving through this mission, and the nice thing is once I've finished this mission and saved it to Lychee, I saved it to Lychee from my iPhone, but it automatically loads to my Lychee Mission Hub so that I can use my computer when I return to make my final adjustments. Now, looking at this location, you might notice a second thing. I'm going to go ahead and close that waypoint window. So what you saw in the video and what you're seeing in the background video is a nice smooth flight through an area that has buildings that exist. But when I look at Lychee's Mission Hub, hey, those buildings aren't there. They're missing. That's because of the fact that Google and Google Earth hasn't updated this area yet. So Google Earth is not constantly updating the satellite maps. And that's a disadvantage sometimes to folks doing construction work because they don't have the reference of their actual location and the reference of what they've constructed so far. This is why doing site progression is so powerful. I can actually come back to the clients and give them an orthomosaic map of their actual location, showing them what the build out really looks like in relation to the Google Earth maps. And there's a big difference. Like I said, we've got buildings throughout here now. We've got homes up on the hill. We've got a drive area that I actually walk the path of, and that's what you've seen on the flight. So very simply, Lychee can be used not only for doing the progression reports, but Lychee can also be used for your own point of reference so that when you return to your office, you can sit down and finish the pre-planning for the flights you're going to do for your client. So I would suggest that Lychee should always be an app that's with you. And I know that different drone pilots use different capture devices and use different control devices. Personally, I'm using iPhones, iOS, and the iPad for some of the tools I use. Other people are using Crystal Skies, or they're using the new smart controller from DJI, or they're using Androids. And you're going to need to figure out which of these devices can work with which apps that you're flying for your construction progression. In the case of iOS, I can use Ground Control or Ground Station Pro. In the case of iOS, I can also use Lychee. I can also use Map Pilot. I can use Pix 4D Capture, and I can use Drone Deploy as well. And there's more. So whatever device you're using is going to constrain what things that you can utilize. I would strongly suggest that you have a device, either iOS or Android, that has the Litchi app, because you're going to find so many uses for the Litchi app. The only thing that the Litchi app is missing, in my opinion, is doing our crosshatch grid patterns for when we're doing 3D models and when we're doing 2D models as well in orthomosaics. Otherwise, beyond that, Litchi covers so many automated flight options for you. You can do orbits, you can do these waypoint missions, you can do first-person view, you can do 360 panos, you name it, Litchi covers it. So it's a fantastic application, and it would be a perfect application if they added in those grid flights like Ground Station Pro and Map Pilot do. Unfortunately, that's not the case today. So I have that app, and I have the other apps on my iPhones and iPad as well. So I hope that you got some good information out of this here, and that this gives you an idea that you can get to a location without pre-programming things, and you can actually mark out waypoint missions with Litchi, not only to give yourself a frame of reference, but also maybe to give some very unique flight options to your next customer that you're working with if you're doing construction progression reporting. All right, everyone, I'm going to jump off because I actually have to get to answer two other potential clients got in touch yesterday. Suddenly, it seems like it's the season here, and so I've got several calls to make this morning. I do have another video that I had told you last week that we were going to cover a new client location, a 3D model, and an ortho mosaic, and I'll see if I can't get that produced this week. It's a really unique location. It's going to be super hard to access for the construction folks who are going to be working on this new custom home. And we will be recording this as the new home comes together. Right now, it's just raw land. We did the flight last week. The land survey engineer has already gone out to the location over the weekend, and now all the information is going back to the architect for the final designs, and then they'll start talking about building this new custom home. I can't wait to share that whole progress with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, if you like this, down at the bottom, hit that like and subscribe, and you'll be notified when the next videos come out. And we'll continue talking about drones, 3D modeling, autonomous drone flight, and maybe some travel here and there, because we've been missing out on the travel side of this channel. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Have an awesome week, everyone. Fly safe.